woman was God's second mistake. It's one of Nietzsche's most infamous lines, sharp, brutal, unforgettable. It lands like a punch to the chest. One sentence and the calm surface of modern sensibilities shatters. For some, it's infuriating. For others, it's an uncomfortable echo. But wherever you stand, the impact is undeniable. And yet, before Nietzsche ever put pen to paper, before he shocked the world with words like these, there was another thinker, his mentor, the man who taught him how to peer into life's darkest corners without blinking. That man was Arthur Schopenhauer. Welcome to your inner mirror. Today we begin one of the most difficult and maybe most necessary conversations we've ever had. We're going to step into the mind of one of the bleakest, most razor-sharp and painfully honest philosophers of all time, Arthur Schopenhauer, and explore one of his most controversial ideas, what he believed about women. Let me start with a warning. This isn't easy to hear. Schopenhauer's views are harsh, cold, bitter. He's been called a misogynist, and not without reason. But we're not here to slap easy labels on difficult thinkers. We're here to ask deeper questions. What did he actually believe? Why did he say it? And is it possible, just possible, that buried inside his bitterness is a truth we're afraid to look at? We're not here to defend Schopenhauer. We're here to understand him. Because if we truly want to grasp the logic behind his views, we can't start with gender. We have to start with his entire view of life. For Schopenhauer, the universe isn't divine, peaceful, or even rational. It's not a grand design with a noble purpose. No, he saw something much darker, a blind, unconscious force that drives all living things to survive, reproduce, and keep the cycle going. No meaning, no mercy, no end game, just an endless loop of birth, pain, and death. He called this force the will to live. Everything we see, humans, animals, nature, it's all just a surface illusion. Beneath it all is this primal force, the will constantly pushing forward. And according to Schopenhauer, we are not truly free. We don't make rational choices the way we think we do. Our thoughts, our dreams, even our values, they're just tools used by the will to keep us moving forward in this cycle of suffering. His view of life was bleak. He once wrote, "Life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. When we desire something, we suffer because we don't have it. But even when we get it, we quickly lose the thrill and we suffer again. It's an endless chase pain when we want boredom when we have." So how does this all connect to women? In Schopenhauer's mind, men and women aren't simply two versions of the same human. They are different instruments used by the will for one core mission, the continuation of life. In his infamous essay on women, Schopenhauer makes claims that are still deeply uncomfortable to hear. He says women are less logical, ruled more by short-term instincts, lacking a deep sense of justice, and more inclined to deception. It's harsh, offensive. But Schopenhauer doesn't present these as moral accusations. He presents them as metaphysical conclusions, natural roles assigned by the will itself. To him, woman isn't evil, she's essential. She is the purest expression of the will to live. Her instincts, her intelligence, her role in the world, all designed for one thing: biological continuation. She's the protector of the species. Her focus is on the here and now, raising children, managing survival, securing the home. So when he says women live in the moment, he's not calling them foolish. He's saying their genius is rooted in reality. Not abstract ideas, but in survival, nurture, and continuity. Men, on the other hand, are something strange, an outlier. While women serve the will fully and naturally, men have this strange capacity to rebel. A man can risk his life for an idea. He can give up comfort for a vision. He can choose to suffer for something that has no survival value at all, like building a cathedral, chasing a philosophy, or dying for honor. And in Schopenhauer's eyes, this makes man unique. Man alone has the potential to step outside the will's program. Through art, through sacrifice, through renunciation, he can say no to life. That's the key. To Schopenhauer, woman affirms life, and life is suffering. So woman becomes in his eyes the embodiment of the very force he wishes to escape. And man in his most noble form is a traitor to that force, a rebel, a sacred madman chasing something higher. It's from this framework that all his bitterness flows. But this is only the beginning. This worldview becomes even more intense and more personal when Schopenhauer turns his gaze toward love. Now we tend to think of love as something beautiful, maybe even transcendent. The meeting of two souls, the feeling that gives life meaning. But to Schopenhauer, romantic love is nature's most elaborate trick, a lie dressed in poetry. In his essay, The Metaphysics of Sexual Love, he argues that what we call love isn't about connection or fulfillment. It's not about soulmates or romance, it's about one thing: reproduction. When a man falls in love, Schopenhauer says he's not choosing. The will is choosing through him. Everything we think is special about love, the butterflies, the obsession, the sense of destiny, is a costume, a disguise for nature's cold, calculating purpose to produce the next generation. And that's why the traits we find attractive aren't random. A man is drawn to youth, health, symmetry, not just for beauty's sake, but because these are signs of fertility. And women in turn are drawn to strength, intelligence, and status, not because of charm, but because those traits promise safety and support during pregnancy and child-rearing. From this perspective, love becomes a transaction, a biological deal. It's not about compatibility or shared values. It's about creating the most viable offspring possible. So when Schopenhauer says that women use beauty, flirtation, and charm as tools to secure a partner, he's not making a moral accusation. He's saying that's how the will operates through them. Nature equips women with the ability to provoke desire, not to be cruel, but to fulfill its purpose. And once reproduction is secured, the passion fades. The illusion breaks. The man who thought he found the one might suddenly feel trapped, confused by how quickly the fire turned to routine. And the woman, she may now expect him to shift roles from romantic partner to provider, protector, and steady presence. Schopenhauer goes so far as to say, a woman who marries for love is securing a contract. A man who marries for love is surrendering to the will. It's offensive, it's cold, and yet how many people deep down feel a strange recognition here? How many stories have we heard, maybe even lived, where a man full of promise loses his spark after falling in love? He puts aside his purpose, his vision, his independence, all in the name of love. He orbits her world. He gives everything. And slowly he loses what once made him magnetic. And ironically, that's often when respect fades, when the attraction that brought them together starts to dissolve. Because Schopenhauer believed a brutal truth: a woman cannot respect a man who gives up his center. It's not hatred, it's a warning. In his view, a man's strength comes from his direction, from having a mission larger than himself. When he gives that up, he not only loses his edge, he loses the very thing that made him valuable in the first place. Now let's be clear. This doesn't mean love is a trap. It doesn't mean women are manipulators. That's not the point. The point is to see clearly. To ask, when I fall in love, who's really making the decision? Me or the will? Am I acting from freedom or from programming? Is this passion mine, or is it nature speaking through me? Schopenhauer's message isn't to avoid love. It's to approach it with eyes open, with awareness, with strength. Because a man who knows himself, who is rooted in purpose, who walks his path with clarity, he can love without losing himself. He can love not from emptiness or need, but from fullness. He can invite someone into his world without abandoning it. And this, Schopenhauer says, is the real challenge: to remain the captain of your ship even when the storm of passion hits. But to understand why he was so haunted by this idea of love as a seductive trap, as a biological ambush, we need to look at the man behind the philosophy. Because these weren't just abstract ideas for Schopenhauer, they were personal. And the pain that shaped them came from the first and most powerful woman in his life, his mother. Arthur Schopenhauer's philosophical views didn't rise out of nowhere. They were born from experience shaped by disappointment, sharpened by wounds. And at the heart of his most painful ideas, one figure looms large: his mother. Her name was Johanna Schopenhauer. Far from being a quiet domestic figure, Johanna was a star of her time. She was intelligent, fiercely independent, and a successful writer in her own right. After the likely suicide of her husband, she moved to Weimar and established herself as a literary powerhouse, hosting salons filled with poets, thinkers, artists, and aristocrats. She was charming, witty, the kind of woman who lit up a room, but to her son she was cold, distant, emotionally unreachable. Their relationship was a battlefield. She saw him as gloomy, arrogant, and socially awkward. He saw her as superficial, vain, and manipulative. Their letters, preserved through history, are thick with blame, bitterness, and accusations. So, when Schopenhauer wrote about women being obsessed with appearances, uninterested in truth, and incapable of objective thought, it's hard not to hear Johanna's voice echoing through his words. His theory wasn't born just in books. It was born in heartbreak. It was the cry of a child who never felt loved by his mother and who turned that hurt into philosophy. This doesn't excuse his views, but it explains their emotional charge. His misogyny wasn't just logic gone cold, it was pain gone rigid. He didn't just critique women as a category, he was haunted by one in particular. His theories became his defense mechanism, his armor. If love, affection, and maternal warmth were unreliable, maybe he could reduce them to biology, to instinct, to something that didn't hurt so much. And yet beneath all the rage, Schopenhauer's most powerful feeling toward women might not have been hatred. It was fear. He feared them because he saw in them a power greater than reason. A power not of argument, but of attraction. Not brute strength, but seduction. The ability to dismantle a man's logic not with force, but with a smile. To Schopenhauer, a woman could bypass all of a man's intellectual defenses. She could make him abandon his highest ideals for the sake of a fleeting moment of closeness. She could turn the philosopher into the animal. This fear lives at the core of his work. A woman in his eyes isn't just a person, she's the living symbol of the will to live, of biology's unyielding pull, of the force that wants to drag us back into the endless cycle of desire, reproduction, and suffering. And Schopenhauer, the man who spent his life trying to escape that cycle, saw women as its most powerful agents. But let's zoom out for a moment. Because this warning he offers, it's not just about women. It's about something far bigger, desire itself. His philosophy forces us to look at our own lives and ask, how many times have we sacrificed our direction, our purpose, our self-respect for the promise of pleasure? How often have we mistaken a chemical pull for a conscious choice? How often have we called it love when it was really biology in disguise? Schopenhauer's message is brutal, but it's clear. Desire is not to be trusted blindly. He's not telling us to reject women. He's not even saying love is bad. He's saying this: know yourself first, find your mission, build your core, because if you don't, you'll be swept away not just by a person, but by the force of nature itself. And the tragedy he describes: a man loses his way. He falls into love without knowing himself. He abandons his goals, his friends, his edge. He makes someone else the center of his universe. And in doing so, he loses what once made him magnetic. The very qualities that attracted love begin to dissolve. Need replaces purpose. Dependence replaces strength. And the very relationship he gave everything to begins to crumble. It's not just theory. It's a story we see around us every day. But Schopenhauer doesn't leave us in despair. At the core of his bitter insights is a call to higher freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from being ruled by your own instincts. He's asking, can you love without losing yourself? Can you walk into passion with open eyes? Can you honor the animal in you without letting it drive the car? The wise man, Schopenhauer says, doesn't reject love. He doesn't run from beauty. He simply refuses to be consumed by it. He loves as a choice, not as a surrender. He invites a woman into his life but never abandons his own. His strength comes not from domination, but from direction, from clarity, from staying rooted in his path, no matter how sweet the distraction may be. So maybe, just maybe, behind the bitterness of Schopenhauer's words is a lesson we need, not about women, but about ourselves. A reminder that our highest freedom begins when we stop being slaves to our own impulses. If you made it this far, you've done something rare. You've stared into one of philosophy's darkest mirrors and stayed with it. That takes strength. That takes honesty. And if this video resonated with you, leave a quiet signal in the comments. Right, Will. It'll be our way of recognizing those who don't run from uncomfortable truths, but face them head on. Those who want to understand, not just react. To grow, not just judge. And if you found value here, support Inner Mirror by liking, subscribing, and sharing this message. Because in a world full of noise, we need more spaces for deep, honest reflection. Until next time, hold your center, stay on your path, and never forget your mission comes first.